hell of a guest, man. One hell of a speaker, man. This man needs no introduction, man. But for the people who don't know who you are, the people that have been sleeping underneath the rock for these past few months, man, can you please go ahead and introduce yourself just one more time, my boy?
What's up with it, Tony, man? I appreciate the intro. But yeah, like you said, for those of you out there that don't know, my name is L. I'm from a Prisoner's Awakening. One of my channels that I have on YouTube. Not anywhere near as epic as yours, man, but we're getting there, man. We've only been on here for a few months, but we're gonna keep pushing.
Oh man, without a doubt, man, you're definitely gonna surpass me, man. Without a doubt, man. I think so, man. But for those of you who have not subscribed to this man's channel, man, A Prisoner's Awakening, man, is one hell of a channel, man. That channel right there, man, is something special. And I tell you what, L, man, I'm not only saying this to say this, but for anybody out there, man, sincerely, man, whenever L drops a video, man, as a journalist, man, I'm one of the very first ones to watch his videos because his videos are fire, man. They're the real deal, Holyfield. I have asked many individuals about L, man, and every single one of these people can verify, man, that this person has really been there, man. So that's why these stories, man, they're real, man. They're authentic. Not only that, man, they also share a positive message, man, to stay out of the streets, to stay out of that lifestyle, man. That's why I really enjoy your content, man. Keep up the good work, bro.
Man, brother, hey, I appreciate you for that, dog. But like you said, man, people out there ain't dumb, man. People, game recognize game, real recognize real. And when somebody's on there, man, and they hear stories, and especially if they've been through it, right? I mean, a lot of people have family members that have been through it, friends that have been through it, anything like that, And so they can't be fooled. They cannot be fooled. And just like yours, likewise, bro. I watch your channel. A lot of individuals may feel a certain type of way about the things that are said on here because we're making an actual a positive effect. We're having a positive effect and influence. And unfortunately, sometimes organizations don't want us to be out here saying the truth. The contradictions. The favoritism, everything that goes on. And we're not doing it to start some beef, to start stuff. We're doing it because we're trying to save our youngsters, even our reoffenders, like I say, to try to keep out of prison, out of the streets. It's done. Not that it was ever in style, but come on, man. We're wasting our time away when we should be uplifting our raza, our gente, our family, our communities, and just society as a whole, brother. And that's why I watch your channel, because you have genuine, real people on here that have made those mistakes, have done all that stuff that some people glamorize, and they come out here with the truth. Ain't no glamour in it. There's no joy in it. At the end of the day, you get stuck in the prison cell for the rest of your life, wishing and praying that somebody would have told you once upon a time that this wasn't the way to live. So likewise, whenever you drop something, the first one to go watch, my boy.
I just want to say thank you, man, for go ahead and saying those kind of words, man. It really means a lot, especially coming from someone such as yourself, man. I just want to go ahead and say just one more time, man. You heard the man. You heard the individual. We are not here to glamorize this lifestyle. We are completely against this lifestyle, man. That is the truth, and we really hope that you do get the true message behind these stories, man. Now, L, man, due to high demand, bro, a lot of people have been wondering, man, what exactly it took for you, man, to finally open up your eyes, man, and somewhat walk away from this lifestyle, man. I know you've been through a lot. I know you were once a lifelong dedicated gang member. You spent a lot of time in the SHU. You spent almost 15 years incarcerated, man. You were around a lot of people with a lot of heavy influence, So tell me, man, what did it take for you to finally walk away?
Yeah, well, for me, it was a gradual process, my boy. It wasn't just something that happened overnight. It wasn't a shocking incident. I think for me, bro, growing up in my neighborhood, the crazier the incident was, the more it actually reinforced my dedication and my loyalty to my hood, to my barrio, I think the first time I got shot up, a lot of dudes will pretty much take off after that, they'll leave and never come back. Me, I took it in stride as something that goes along with the game. And then, if you survive this, keep pushing, just another notch under your belt, or being part of a hood, being part, it's part of the plan. You're supposed to do that, And obviously, with the retaliation and all that stuff, I just really, truly believe in the lifestyle, bro. So it it took a very long time, bro, and a lot of different incidents for me to open up my eyes and see, like you said, man, I did 15 years in prison, about another 5, almost 6 years in the county jail and juvenile halls combined, in and out, since I was the age. I was very young, brother. So I think when I got to this case right here, I ended up catching some shootings, you know, some lives were taken, other individuals were shot. I've actually told this story on here, so I'll push forward from this. I ended up with a 15-year term. You know, after fighting my case for 3 years, I got lucky, man. And see, when I got to prison, with my mind slightly changed. You know, I knew that I didn't want to get into the politics very heavily because I had heard that a lot of individuals started getting validated. And they started getting validated as associates of the Mexican Mafia, if you weren't yourself a Mexican Mafia member, you know. And all the organizations were being validated. So I knew that with about roughly 12 years to go, by the time I got into prison, I had 12 years to go. And I knew that I didn't want to be stuck in the shoe the whole time. So I kind of threaded lightly. For those of you that know, man, when I got to prison, IGI, which is the Institutional Gang Unit investigators, they were giving you a thing called points. And this is at the time where the MESA system was still being ran, and the MESA system was pretty much something that was implemented by a handful of senores, Mexican Mafia members, to work as a proxy system, and so the Sureños on the yard could pretty much their day-to-day operations while they were stuck in the chute, because they were all validated for quite some time at that point. So that's the environment that I got to prison in, you know, the MESA system. And after I seen MESA after MESA being snatched up and validated, it was like clockwork for them, for IGI. And it was just, you know, for every time you cut out the head of the snake, 3 or 4 more heads pop up, they get validated, so on and so forth. And then they started doing this mass warehousing, right? At first, it was only pretty much the heavy hitters, you know, the actual members of the organization, and the ones that were like legitimately running shit that were only like a few steps away from being made themselves. And then it started trickling down to regular Sureños, regular homies, and they started validating people just for having Aztec work. They started validating people for having like a campol. For those of you who don't know what a campol is it's an Aztec number. It works as I want to get into the whole Sureño, children of the South, everything, you know. It's a real political, it's a political subject, but that's what Sureños get on them. Obviously, you got to earn it, and they used to get the 13, the campol. You know, it's 2 lines with the 3 dots on top. And anybody that had that on them, or Sureño, or any Aztec work tatted, they would get validated. You know, they'll have this point system where if you got 2 or 3 points, boom, they'll hit you with the validation packet, and you'll find yourself in the shoe for the rest of your term. Or if you're a lifer, you find yourself in the shoe period, right? And there's individuals, as you guys know, some of you guys may know, they were back there for decades, you know. There were some individuals that were back there for 40 plus years, and then the hunger strikes would eventually free everybody. So that's the environment I got there too. So I decided very early on not to engage too deeply into that type of stuff. That's why, to me, to this day, I don't have a single Aztec tattoo, a trece, or anything on my body that would, you know, that they could use against me. So I went through my whole term, you know, putting in work where I had to, you know, kicking off if a riot kicked off, doing pegadas, whatnot. Did several shoot terms. And then I'll fast forward all the way to around 2012, 2013-ish. And that's when I caught my last shoot term. And I caught my last shoot term, went to a few of them, but I eventually ended up being released from Tehachapi Shoe, you know, because they were closing down the other shoes, Corcoran Shoe, Pelican Bay Shoe, and I ended up in Tehachapi Shoe, and most of the Mexican Mafia members weren't there anymore, you know. They by the time I got there, I was back there for 3 years, and I was released in 2016, and I ended up in Kern Valley State Prison in New Delano. And the last 180 that I had been to prior to this 180 was New Corcoran on Sea Yard over there. And when I got to New Delano, obviously, I knew that the Mexican Mafia members were on the yard. So up until this point in my life, I had met a few of them on the streets, and then I had obviously been in the shoe with these individuals several times, and they're good dudes, down to earth, whatnot. But obviously, it's not a lifestyle that I agree with, or even promote or glorify or any of those things. But today's story that I want to get into, obviously, after having given a description of the environment and everything, is, and I want to make clear, like we say, Tony, there's certain things that have to happen in you in life for you to open up your eyes further, you know. And by this point in my life, when I got released from this last shoe term, I had already told myself, look, I only have a few years left to the house. You know, I had about maybe 4 years left. 3 years. I was like, you know what? This is the last shoe term I do. This is the last time I raise my hand. This is the last time that I'm going to sacrifice and keep making excuses and disappointing my daughter and breaking her heart, you know. And I'm already fully aware that there's individuals out here that say there's no excuse, you know, what you signed up for, all that good stuff. Save it. I've heard it all, you know. But this is a true case of I just got tired of it, you know. And when I first started my term, Tony, I didn't think that I was going to make it home. See, I didn't have life, but I had to do my time. Anybody that's been on a level 4, especially 180, you guys know that the majority, 99.9% of the individuals on there are lifers, you know. So for some, you rarely see somebody going home from those yards. And as a result, a lot of dudes end up catching more time or life in there, you know. So I was fully aware and ready to sacrifice that early in my term, about halfway through my term and down. Then halfway through my term, as I started getting closer, especially, like I said, when I got out of the shoe this time, I had told myself, like, nah, man, that's it. I got this close, which I didn't think was a possibility. I'm not gonna sacrifice and jeopardize my freedom now. I got too close. So I get out to Kern Valley with that mindset. I'm still gonna jump if I need to jump. You know, somebody wants some, they're gonna get some. You know, I'm very humble when it comes to how I conduct myself. But obviously, if somebody pushes your buttons, man, that humility goes out the window. And to me, rightfully so. You have to defend yourself. So when I got to the yard, I got to one block, and some of the individuals that were there were Tart Asker, the Aryan Brotherhood, Frank Clement, Aryan Brotherhood. There was no Mexican Mafia members in one block, but there were some in the lower yard, on A yard in Kern Valley. So I get there, man, and I think within a short time, I get assigned. I get assigned to a job because anybody that has to date, especially short time like me, I was 2-3 years to the house. So the counselors tend to prioritize those type of cases to get a job so that the credits could kick in and all that. But me, I had 85%, so I wasn't going to get no credits. But still, that's why they do that. So I got a job as a law library clerk, and to spend the next few years just studying the law, helping individuals, helping out the camaradas, some of the white brothers on there, the black brothers, and some others, some Asians and natives. So and I injected myself into that type of lifestyle and just try to stay out the way. And that's how I ran in. And I said the story on my channel, and that's how I eventually started. I got really close with Danny Roman, Popeye from Heartpiece, the Mexican Mafia member that passed away at New Corcoran. May he rest in peace. So I used to, conduct business with the dude, pull in individuals from the upper, lower yard, because I was actually in a position to be able to do that. And communication for these individuals is everything. So up into that, on that scale is how I operated with them. Obviously, there was other things that were done that I would choose to omit from here because that's not the subject, and there's no relevance to it. But I met the dude I got pretty close to the individual, and that's what I did. I assisted where I could. I conducted myself as best as I could, and by this time in my term, especially being on the 4 yards, it was easy. It's no big thing. It's nothing to be think that you're better than anybody else for. even though the homies on the 4 yards do like kind of like look down on their nose on the homies that are like on 3 or 2 yards and shit like that, you know, they think they're better as a result. But for me, man, it was what it was, you know, I was just doing my time, and you get used to it, you know, you get used to the status, you get used to the politica, and then you could fucking pretty much just navigate the environment. It becomes second nature at this point, you know. So now getting to the reason why I went to the other side, why I went to an SNY yard. I spent 13 and a half years on the main line, and the last year and a half on an SNY on D yard at Kern Valley State Prison. And just to give you a feel and a taste for what individuals thought about the SNY yards in Kern Valley, this is how it went. D yard used to always have staff members, COs, running to that yard. About every time the GP had a yard, they would put down the yard once or twice. On a bad day, they'll put down the yard once or twice for 10, 20, 15 minutes because all the staff had to run to D yard. You know, and this happened quite often. So D yard is an SNY, it's a level 4, like I said, but it's an SNY yard, right? And obviously for you, those of you that are aware of 2-5ers, Zapatistas, IRs, all those SNY gangs. That's pretty much what was going on that side. And they had the THU building in D yard, and that's the transitional housing unit. That was the housing unit where individuals that were validated gang members for any organization, that's where they would go. And that was on D yard. So D yard was pretty much the yard for the fuck-ups. And it's, on the SNY, that was the yard that was known as one of the most violent yards at the time, you know. Prior to that, I heard it had been a yard in Pleasant Valley. But, so all the homies on the GP, either whether they would whisper or even just say it out loud, they'd be like, there was always this undertone after we finished talking about D yard that you could tell that nobody wanted to go to D yard. If they ever had to go to the other side, they knew that they definitely would not want to go to that side. Not only because they would be deemed no good and or throw their career away or whatnot, but because it was the fear of the unknown. Just being completely honest, the fear of the unknown. You see the yard dropping every time. You hear stabbings, killings. You hear all on that side. So homies definitely don't want to go over there, you know. And then there's the ones that'll put up a front of I don't know, you know, all that stuff. But in reality, in their mind, they know that they at least gave it that thought, like, shit, I wouldn't want to go over there type shit for so many different reasons, right? So I go on about my life, law library clerk, whatever, get into the routine, dudes getting stabbed, resuming yard, everything, right? And then finally, I'm one of my homeboys from a city. He wasn't from my hood, but he was from my city. And then he gets there, and as soon as he gets there, this individual is he starts hitting drugs. And I'm gonna go ahead and omit his name. I'm not gonna say his name because I don't know what he's doing. He's still locked up. He has life without parole, and I'm not gonna jeopardize him in case he's doing this thing currently. You know, I've never been one to put anybody in jeopardy. Anything that I ever speak on is either the past or cases that have already been adjudicated and already prosecuted. So he rose up, you know, and I knew this dude from we used to break dance, you know, when I was 11 years old, right before I got into the gangbang stuff. We used to break dance, and this dude was a talented individual, you know. Him and another dude that ended up going into a neighborhood as well were two of the break dancers in the city, and unfortunately, they're both in prison doing life now. So we went from breakdancing to life, them two to life in prison, and me with 15 years having barely dodged life in prison. And so this dude, he rose up, and off the top, he's like, "Hey, bro, check this out. You know, I'm gonna start doing my thing. You know, I'm gonna start hitting. I'm gonna start doing all this." And I'm thinking in my mind at the time, like, well, you know, like, that's all good and all, but that's not the type of shit that I'm into at this point in my life. At this point in my life, I'm going for my college degree. I almost had my college degree, all my units. I'm taking fucking NA classes and all this shit to try to get milestones and try to get time cut off that I've lost from doing La Pegada and all kinds of shit, right? So I tell him, all right, cool, it's all good, do your thing, But he doesn't know that in my heart I'm not really interested in any of this shit. So like I said, I was getting ready to get out, It's not that I thought that I was too good for it or I had changed my life or not. Nah, I was still not above maybe getting high or whatever. But I knew that I didn't want to get high this close to home, and I wanted to parole clean and just, be focused, So time passes by, man. And then, yeah, sure enough, he actually starts hitting. And within 3 to 6 months, this dude becomes the man on the yard. He becomes the man on the yard. Money is power, and everybody wants a piece of this dude. Every time he's on the yard, everybody's fucking trying to get at him. Everybody's trying to get a fucking, him. He's trying to get them plugged in so they can start making their money. Because there's the money makers on the yard, and then there's the dope fiends, the dudes that get high, right? So the money makers are always like, hey, sell me this and much, and I got you, whatever. So everybody was on his jock, right? So for me, it's like, man, that's a lot of heat. Eventually, nothing lasts forever. And I know that, whether the homies, and I'll get into the story. You guys are going to trip out on this shit. So I know that there's just so many different reasons why I wouldn't want to be in that cell. So sure enough, he hits me up in due time. He's like, hey, bro, I'm going to move you over there. I need somebody that I could trust and whatever, all that stuff. And I'm thinking in my mind, like, fuck, if I move over there, I'm going to get strung out. I've been clean for some years now, and it's going to be free. The dope is free. For anybody out there that doesn't know, heroin is very expensive in prison, So if you move in there and you have it free, that's shit. It's like most of the dudes, that would be like their fucking ideal situation, getting high for free and just doing your time, being numb, whatever. But like I said, I never needed that. So I rebuff his efforts, and I tell him, look, bro, with all due respect, my boy, I love you and everything, but I'm doing my thing. And plus, I have a good celly. And, for anybody out there that doesn't know, having a good celly, finding a good celly that you can program with, having gone through growing pains, if you go through growing pains or whatnot, that was one of the things that a lot of individuals in there, especially lifers, that they cherish. Having a good celly that you already have a good solid-ass program with. Because you just never know who you're going to get next, and you never know if you're going to bump heads with somebody and have to fucking stab the shit out of somebody, and it could go all downhill fast, So that was prevalent in my mind as well. I had a good celly, and, I just didn't want to, it's just for so many different reasons, right? But the number one thing that's always been my downfall is my loyalty, especially to the people that I pledge loyalty to, I've always prided myself in being a leader, not a follower. But those I see as my equals, I'll ride with them till the wheels fall off, And so I rebuffed, like I said, his efforts, and maybe about 6 months after that, I still can't figure it out, or, I theorize, whether he did it on purpose or whether it was just a situation, right? But he hits me up again. He's like, look, bro, a lot of these dudes are hating on me. I feel like I'm on an island, whatnot, and move in with me, dog. I need your help. So when he said that, automatically I got into like fucking, fuck these dudes mode, They were from different counties, so I was like, shit, they're trying to hit on the OC and shit, like fuck it, from the city too, I'm a Santanero, whatnot, And this is my mindset. Even though I'm changing inside, I still have a lot of fucking old gang type of mentality, tendencies, and I got into like fuck these dudes mode, like I said. So I was like, yeah, fuck it, I got you, I'll move in. And I told him, we need obviously we need a stash spot and everything, because I got a few fucking things, them hard candy things that I got, and we're probably going to need them if I ever beef it with these dudes. So now, as I get into this part of the story, we have the señor from Rancho. He's on the lower yard. He's the señor from Rancho. And then we have another one from Watts in the upper yard. And so when I move in with my homeboy, what I didn't know is that this individual was so far gone off the drugs that he was starting to use more than he was actually selling or bringing in. And I didn't know this at the time, and I get there, and we have a couple of dudes from Compton, mostly dudes from LA, and I noticed the animosity. I feel the animosity off the top. You know, you could cut the tension with the fucking, you know, like it was crazy. And I just figured, like I said, man, I took him at his word. I figured that it was just set tripping, you know. And this is crazy because this is the 4-yard, you know. And for all of you that don't know, that set tripping shit usually happens on lower yards or maybe on the 270, whatnot. And then keep in mind the senores are on the yard, so you know that type of shit it doesn't fly. So that's why in my mind I was like, wait, like how are these who set tripping when you know we got the senor right here and it's a 180 and we just, you know, there's a lot more unity on a 180 than you would find anywhere else, especially because we have other factions and whatnot. So I kind of chalked it up to like, hey, there's no Daniels on the yard, so maybe that's what it is. So what it ended up being is my homeboy was fucking up, you know, once upon a time. And at this point, guys, he's slanging for like a good year and a half, you know. So he's been doing this for a minute. And even though he's still bringing in shit, he's starting to slip. And then one day I see one of the black individuals or black brothers. And let me tell you this, we're not able to mess with other races, or I don't want to say other races, other factions, and then our black individuals, right? My African brothers. And that's something that's been established for decades before I even fucking went to prison, you know. Whether they mess with us or we mess with them, it's not allowed, you know. So I see one of the porters that's a blood. He's a blood. Old OG blood, you know, shout out to respect for all them individuals. Solid dude, respectful dude. And I noticed that he's calling my celly over there often. And they're talking. And, you know, I put my headphones on because it's none of my business. You know, I've always had that respect. You know, it's like one of the things that you do on these type of yards is if you ever walk up to somebody's cell, you don't ever look directly in their cell. You know, you knock at a decent tone level, and then you wave your hand to make your presence be known. You know, you don't ever look inside out of respect. So all this decorum, all this shit that you have to, how you have to conduct yourself, it's just another example of what I would do. You know, I put my headphones on and let these dudes have their privacy. Well, in hindsight, me doing that allowed this dude to get away with a lot of shit. I came to find out once I started noticing other shit, and I started noticing that this dude was lying to me, and individuals were coming up to me asking like, "Hey, what's up? Where's my shit at? This, that, whatever," you know, because they had sent him money so that he could send him some clavos so they could get set up shop and whatnot, right? And when I started getting pushed up on by other individuals, I started wondering, like, hey, I started getting suspicious, like, hey, what's up with this fool, you know? So that's when I started paying attention. And I came to find out that this dude was so far gone that that black individual that was going to the cell door, he had sent him dope on the streets so that he could bring it in. And for anybody out there listening, this is a major violation. Not only can we not mess with the individuals like that, like sell drugs to them on the tier or whatever, but you can't, let alone you can't have somebody's fucking dope and bring it in, you know what I'm saying, and do business on that level, on that scale, you know. An ounce of it's worth fucking thousands and thousands in prison. So there's just the potential to get this for so much to go wrong. And what ended up happening, my boy was getting high so much that he ends up fucking damn near doing the whole shit. He and then during the week when he would get sick, he would fucking he would borrow dope, you know, so they could get him through visit and shit like that. So he was pretty much like not trying to break even, but he went from breaking even to being under instead of making money. So the dude just wanted to know where his fucking ounce of dope was, you know, and he was like, if you can't produce it, you know, just pay me or give it back to me type shit, you know. And the reason I knew this is because eventually I ended up, you know, my celly went either to visit or he went somewhere, and I ended up hollering at the black, and I told him like, hey, my boy, what's going on, you know? And he let me know. And the reason he let me know was because at this point he was frustrated with my celly. And once he told me that, I was like, fuck, this was fucking up, you know? And right away, my mind starts thinking of ways to try to get out of the situation. Meaning, I have to sit my celly down, pretty much check him and be like, "Hey, dog, you're fucking up. We got to get this shit solved ASAP. Because if the homeboys find out that this is going on, that's a wrap. So it seems like everything for all you guys out there listening. You don't ever want to be put in one of these situations, because what I'm about to say as well is just a whole intricate, so much shit, so many different angles we're working in this current situation that you're going to trip out how politics, how the senores are vicious, how politics are vicious, envy, jealousy, all this shit comes into play. Jealousy, envy, all this shit that's associated with the drug trade and yes, politica, politics, and prison, right? So the senor, the Mexican mafia member, and the upper yard from Watts, this individual, man, he doesn't like the fact, he tried to reach out to my celly and was like, "Hey, what's up? Shoot some love my way." And my celly had already sent his to Popeye from Harpies and the senor from Rancho. I won't say their names. Popeye's name obviously passed away, but I'll omit the other names. So at this point, he already did what he had to do. He already paid his respect to who he had to pay his respects to. But this senor obviously is gonna feel slighted. These dudes got monumental egos, some of them, and like I said, man, they're gonna feel slighted. And I didn't know this at the time, but hindsight is 20/20. So this fool was on my celly's bumper. He was trying to find ways to get him crossed up at this point, because he had been doing this thing for a while, and he's not getting anything. He's not benefiting from this at all. Only the senor on the lower yard is. And Popeye ends up taking off, whatnot, and then I end up pulling the senor to the side, because I was on good terms with him. And I put him to the side, and I let him know, look, this is what's going on. And I told my celly, I sat him down, and I told him I was going to do this, and I told him that we need to figure something out ASAP. And at first he was scared. Let's just keep it real. He was scared. My celly with the business, my boy with the business, but you'd have to be a fucking robot if you're not going to be scared, because your life is on the line now. When you're fucking with another race at this level, and you got Mexican mafia members on the yard, anybody out there that knows the gravity of the situation, you know what the fuck I'm talking about. So I just pretty much told my celly, look, dog, it is what it is. It's either I move out and let you fucking sink with all this, or I try to rectify the situation. And I have two choices, like I said, move out, clean my hands of him, and I could have done it. If there was anybody else, I probably could have done it. I would have done it. I didn't know this dude shit. This dude was fucking hiding shit from me, burning his own bridges, pretty much fucking himself. But since he was my boy, and I knew him since we were kids, and I gave him my word that I would have his back, and I was loyal to him, this is where it came back and bite me in the ass. So I told him, look, I'm not gonna move out on you, dog. I gave you my word that we were gonna do our thing, and that's that. I'm gonna ride with you until the wheels fall off. But now I'm gonna take over. So I'm gonna take over, and I'm gonna have to get us out of the situation, and I have to approach the senor now, because this is the only way we're gonna be able to do it. So now, anybody out there listening, that picture this. That there's been individuals that have been stabbed off the yard for just picking up a paper of dope from a black, picking up some weed from a black, anything, no disrespect to my black brothers, man. That's just the policies that we had, Not that I'm not saying that because I think we're better or our side is better. No, that was just the rules. We couldn't do it, right? Now imagine going up to a Mexican mafia member and letting them know that not only have you have done business with a black individual, but you have a whole ounce of in debt to this individual, right? So that's what I did. I pulled aside the homie from Racho, and I was talking to him on the yard, and I let him know, look, OG, this is what's going on. and I ran him down, and I told him, because I had spoken to him before, and he was like legitimately lenient, not like take advantage of him type lenient, but he understood. And at this point, the environment and atmosphere is kind of changing to like pro-black. We're actually ended up being allowed to do business with blacks if it was straight across and no money was owed. So me knowing this, that the trend is starting to change somewhat, but it's still not changed enough for it to be okay. I use this to my advantage, and I approached him and I told him, look, my celly, his girl misplaced, and this is the risk that I took. Obviously I had to lie, and I told him my celly fucking misplaced some product, and it's unfortunate that the product would belong to another race. And if it was anybody else, if it was the homies, they'll work with you and wait for you. But obviously, man, another race ain't gonna give you the time that you need to cover some shit up or to fix it or to come up with a missing product. So that's what I told the senor. Like, look, this is the lower yard is yours. If this might come to your ears, I just want to get ahead of it out of respect for you, so that if you do catch wind of this happening, I just want to let you know that we're on it. We're gonna get it solved. But unfortunately, whatever, if he does have something coming, we wanna be right here, up front, ready to take whatever consequence is gonna come, and we're at your mercy, And he respected the fact that I did that. He respected the fact that I wasn't gonna hide from it, and the homie was willing to take his licks if that's what it came down to. So the senor, obviously, we had been taking care of him. My celly had been taking care of him for some time now, and they appreciate that, And he's an older cat. He's not really 100% politicked out or into politics with his brothers like that, but obviously he has enough juice to have the lower yard and have seniority over the dudes on the upper yard. And so what he ends up telling me is, look, you have this much time. Told me, he gave me 2 weeks. You got 2 weeks to take care of this. I never heard anything. You never told me nothing. You're good. Even if I do hear about it, and within these 2 weeks, you're good. It's not going to get past me. And that's what he gave me. And I was all right, cool. And I went back to the cell, and I told my celly. And that was more than enough time for us to take care of it, because my celly was still bringing shit in. We were just going to Peter PayPal this shit. We were going to have somebody else's shit, pay the dude back with that, and then eventually make whatever money off that, get another one, and eventually replace it, right? So as I'm sitting here trying to fucking clean up this whole clusterfuck that my celly had made for himself, and I had no idea about, I was just taking care of the day-to-day logistics, dropping off product from point A to point B, to this dude, to that. Because remember, guys, I'm a law library clerk. So I'm able to get shit to the upper yard, to other blocks fast, efficiently, and things like that. I have a movement. And so while I'm trying to fix the rest of this shit, my celly ends up, he was beefing it obviously with the dudes in the block. So the dudes in the block ended up catching wind of what was going on. And remember, man, I didn't have to let the bloquero know shit. I didn't have to that was the beauty about having the senores on the yard. You no longer had to, if you were close to a senor, and it's favoritism, it is. If you did not know the senor or weren't on speaking terms with them, you had to go through the chain of command, your section rep, whoever had the pod to the bloquero to the senor, because they ain't no more mesa system. So, like I said, since I'm speaking terms with the senor, I was able to bypass all that. Well, these dudes being what they are, and politics being full of snakes as they are, they caught wind, and they know exactly what to do next. Instead of these dudes letting know, in which they did, but just letting him know They talked to him, and homeboy just pretty much told him, hey, don't worry about it. You know, it's already taken care of, whatever. So instead of just keeping it there, these dudes let the homie from Watts, the señor from Watts, know what's going on. And this is why this was able to happen, the downfall. Prior to this, maybe about 2, 3 weeks, 5 dudes from 4 blocks ended up overdosing. They ended up overdosing, and that pretty much led for the homie from Rancho, the señor from Rancho that had the lower yard. He pretty much got frustrated and upset and said, you know what, I'm going to let the dude from the upper yard take over, see how you guys like it. And that's what happened, you know. So when this happened, the dude from the upper yard was able to reach down to the lower yard, and that's what led to that phone call, to me being asked to do what I did, or what they wanted me to do. And they wanted me to take out my celly, you know. Hey, Tony, you hear me? So,
I hear you.
So the homie from Rancho, like I said, had given us 2 weeks, and these dudes playing snake politics knew exactly what to do. And 2 to 3 weeks before this happened, actually given discretion to the señor from the upper yard from Watts to go ahead and do what he felt he needed to do when it became and it pertained to the lower yard, because 4 or 5 dudes from 4 blocks had overdosed, and they made the homie from Rancho, the señor from Rancho, they made him look bad. And the dude, I'm telling you, the dude from the upper yard had been wanted to fucking outstretch. He was ambitious. He was on one, man, and he had been trying to take over the lower yard, especially because he knew that's where the money was. He knew that my celly was there, and he wanted that cut directly to him, you know. So he was looking for reasons, and what ends up happening? He ends up politicking against the homie from, and this is what we heard. He ends up politicking against his brother, and he ends up taking over the lower yard because there was, like I said, 5 overdoses in one day, and brought a lot of heat from IGI to the señores. So the homie from Rancho gets upset at us, and he's like, you know what? Okay, cool. You guys want to make me look bad? Now my brother's going to take over this. See how you like that. And that dude from the upper yard, from Watts, he was vicious, bro. He was vicious. And I'll paint the picture exactly, and you know what I'm talking about. So this individual, man, these individuals in the block that we're beefing it with, they actually took it to the homie from Rancho, and the homie, the señor from Rancho, told him, hey, it's already been taken care of. But these fools were not going to sit there and respect the señor and let us get over on him, or let us get away with it. They knew exactly what to do. And what did they do? They went and they told the señor from Watts. And when he caught wind of this, that my celly was in fact, messing with a black individual and he had his dope, oh man, it was a wrap. I still remember when the señor from the lower yard gave me the heads up, and he told me, hey, just to let you know, it's beyond me now. It's not no longer in my hands no more. You know, he's like, unfortunately, you guys weren't able to handle it fast enough. He's like, even though I gave you the 2 weeks and you were still within the 2 weeks, he's like, it's just that's just what it is, man. You know, he's like, just hang in there, and then what happens happens. So he was pretty much letting me know, like, it's a wrap, you know, whatever's gonna happen, which we brought it upon ourselves, and unfortunately, life wanted it this way. So this led up to me getting a phone call. Okay, so we had been on lockdown. When I got this phone call, we had been on lockdown, and we had been on lockdown because they kept dropping kites, huilas, mapils, whatever you want to call it, notes, to IGI, and program office, whatever. And they kept saying that the señor from Watts was going to fucking stab this person, that person, whatever, you know. And it was true. A lot of dudes were going to get blasted because they owed a lot of money. So a lot of dudes were trying to get rid of the senor, you know. And yes, guys, this is the top. These are dudes that are supposed to be active, solid on the 4-yard, right? It happens. It is what it is. And don't reflect on everybody, but it is what it is. So they got us on lockdown to search for weapons. And this is when I got the phone call. And it was a senor from Watts, and he pretty much just told me, like, hey, this is what I want you to do. And a lot of people have been wanting to know the circumstances that surrounded my defection, my me dropping out, me going to the side. And he didn't want me to blast myself. A few dudes told me, like, hey, well, why didn't you just fucking, it's not sure that you were going to kill him. Why don't you just do it and, you know, hope for the best and not kill him? I was like, because you're making an assumption, and that's just what it is, an assumption. They didn't ask me to blast my celly. They didn't ask me to stab my celly. They asked me to overdose him. A sure kill. A sure death. And if I had to count the amount of times that I actually hit a shot in my celly's veins, man, I'll be here for days trying to count them. So I had his trust. I could have killed him in a heartbeat. I could have overdosed him in a heartbeat. And if I would have been the same person that I was before, if I would have been had the same type of mentality, I wouldn't have thought twice to do it. Even to this day, I could take a life if I absolutely had to defend my family. But I'm not going to do that. I wasn't going to do that. And I took 3 days thinking about how I've worked for all this. Even though I don't fully believe in it no more, I was still being selfish, you know, and I have to keep it 100%. I was still being selfish. I wanted a parole in good standings, even though I knew that I was never going to go back to my neighborhood. I was never going to look back. I was going to take care of my daughter. I was going to do what I needed to do to stay out, and as I'm doing right now. But I wanted to do it still in good standing so nobody could freaking speak about me in a negative way. Because up until that point, my career has been solid, you know. Hasn't been perfect, but it was solid nonetheless, you know. And this dude was taking that away from me in my mind. And so I was left with the decision: take out my celly and risk getting life. And the reason why I say risk is because I actually should be saying life for sure. Because it don't matter if they would have got me 1 year later, you know. Let's just say let me explain to you guys exactly what would have happened if I would have did it. They would have took me to the hole for investigation. I would have been back there anywhere between 6 months to a year, pending the investigation. And even if they would have deemed it accidental overdose or whatnot, and I would have got kicked out to the line, no day referral coming back as they picked up my case or nothing, I would have been good. How long I would have been good for, it's a question. And having seen everything that transpired in 15 years in the California state prison system, somebody always says something. Dispensa. That's a reality. It's a fact. I've always seen the hardest dudes, even all the ex-Mexican mafia defectors or the dudes that defected, that informed and all that. Somebody along the way would have told on me and would have said, ask questions. Somebody would have asked him the question, hey, was this really a hit? Or he would have volunteered that information. I got something on you, for you. Just let me out. Or get me out of this situation, whatever. Somebody would have ended up telling on me. I've seen it way too many times. So I wasn't going to risk getting life. And I wasn't going to kill my homeboy. And the only thing, unfortunately, holding me back was my one of my family members, my brother. We had done everything up until this point together. We had shined for the hood, even though I didn't have it in my heart no more. I didn't believe in it no more, you know. And that's why ultimately I took 3 days to decide. But at the end of the day, I couldn't do it. Even though I know I would have been free for a while, I just couldn't do it, you know. And that's why I went to the other side. I walked to the program office during the lockdown. I spent 6 months in the back. And the crazy part about it is that I spoke to my brother since, and he's like, the only reason I spoke with you is because I know you didn't say nothing, and I already checked on it. Nobody's cell got hit, nothing, you know. And there ain't no paperwork on you, et cetera, et cetera. And in my mind, I'm thinking, you know what? You don't have to fuck with me. You don't have to talk to me. I know what I'm about. I know what I stand for. And being a gang member, being an active gang member, after having been through all the shit that I've been through, I'm not with that no more, and I'm proud of it, you know? And so for all of you out there that's been wanting to know the circumstances surrounding my defection, that's the gist of it. That's the main part of it. Now, let me tell you what happened, because a lot of people will probably ask, and some people have. I sat my celly down, and I told him after I hung the phone, I told the senor, I'm not going to do it. He's like, what? I'm not going to do it. Hung up on him, whatever, gave the phone back, and I told my celly, look, bro, they want you dead. And he didn't believe it, man. He was such on a sick one. He believed his own lies. He was just lost, man. He was lost. And this dude, he didn't believe it. And I told him, and he still didn't believe it. And I told him, look, dog, get up real quick. He's like, what's up? And I told him, get up. And I told him, I'm out of here, bro. If you're going to do something about it, do it right now. And I could leave that way. Hey, guys, please, do not misinterpret this as me trying to make myself look like a badass or nothing. It's just facts how it happened. Unfortunately, it's just the way it had to happen. And I couldn't risk this dude taking off on me when I was being handcuffed or whatnot. Even though he was my boy and everything, you just never know how they're going to react. So I told him, we could get our money right now, and that's how I'll leave. Or you could just let me walk out, and that's just what it's going to be. And I wish you the best, dog, but they want you dead. That's without a doubt. And he's like, come on, dog. You know, you're my homeboy, dog. And it's all good. So obviously I left without incident, and he stayed. He decided to stay, you know. He has nothing to lose. He has life without parole. He has nothing to lose, you know. So he's like, fuck. He's like, where am I going to go, dog? Where am I going to go? I told him, well, I respect your decision. That's on you. And he's like, you're making the right choice, bro. You're making the right choice. Go home to your daughter. And I told him I will, you know. But I knew in my mind that I still had to go through D-Yard or C-Yard. But I knew most likely they were going to put me in D-Yard. So when I left, they wanted me to give up cell phones. They wanted me to give up this, too. They wanted me to give up whatever. And I didn't do it. I couldn't do it. I told them, look at my C file. I put in nothing but work. I'm not validated. And that's because I don't know shit, you know. And obviously he's not going to know whether I'm telling the truth or not. But he kept me in the hole for 6 months and finally threatened to send me to SAT-F, back to New Corcoran, in the GP yard, and to take my chances if I didn't want to tell him anything. And I told him, go ahead. If you want to send me to that, you're literally putting my life in danger, and I'm going to sue the fuck out of you. That same week, I seen committee, and I was kicked out to D-Yard. So that's a story for a different day. So coming back, what ended up happening in my celly? Well, about 3 weeks into my transition into the SNY, I was walking back from committee, and I seen somebody in the holding cages. And for those of you that don't know how it looks like, in ADSEG, they got little one-man holding cages where you could stand up. They cuff you in there. They uncuff you there, whatnot. There was somebody in those cages, and you guys know, those of you that know, there's little tiny little like rectangular type, not rectangular, kind of like a triangle on both sides type shape. It can't come to my head right now. And you could barely see individuals in there. So somebody was like, Looney, what's up, man? I'm like, who the fuck is that? He's like, it's me, bro. And he said his name. I'm like, what the fuck? I couldn't recognize him because of little holes, and his head was almost the size of a watermelon. And his whole side of his face was black and blue. Like, legitimately, from his forehead to his chin, his face was black. He ended up getting hit 17 times. And what ended up happening with that, the dude from Compton that had the block at the time, pretty much this is what he wanted to do. And we didn't like him, you know. And the crazy part about it, guys, is that I was debating for a while, and if we wouldn't have been on lockdown, I think I would have done this. I was going to leave to the other side, but I was going to take that dude from Compton with me, meaning I was going to take off on him. And that's how I was going to go to the other side. That's legitimately how I wanted to go to the other side, but we're on lockdown and I couldn't do it. So anywho, so we didn't like this dude. So this dude, when he goes to try to kill my celly in the day room, he wants to be the one to hit him a couple of times and then back up and let everybody else go in there. So before he was able to do that, my celly ended up taking off on him. And he actually rushed him, and then the whole day room rushed him, you know. And because of that, they weren't able to get in there good enough to kill him. But they still hit him 17 times, and they left his face and his head the size of a watermelon. And that's what ended up happening to him. And then when he was in the hole, like where I seen him in the hole, when I seen him there, he actually ended up asking the señor from Watts. He had his celly, and his celly ended up telling my ex-celly, my ex-celly asked him, like, hey, they said I'm good now. Is that true? Like, am I good now? And everybody had told him, yeah, hell yeah. They had him on gallo. And for those of you that know what gallo means, like when you go to the back, that's the roll call. And if you're still on gallo, that means you're still good. And they still say your name when they do the buenos dias and all that. They still say your name. You're still on gallo. So my sex said he was still on gallo. So he asked that question. He's like, hey, am I still good? Am I really good? He asked everybody that same question. They all said yes. But when he asked the señor celly, that fool was like, nah, bro, that's a wrap. You know, that's a wrap. And he was all right, you know what, fuck this shit. And he ended up going to SNY himself. And I ended up seeing him on D-Yard, and he told me this whole story, this part of the story, and that was that, man. So anybody out there, man, that wanted to know, well, now you know. You know, you could always drop questions either on Tony's platform, or he'll link it to my page, my channel, and I'll answer whatever questions you guys feel I missed. But for the youngsters out there listening, for the reoffenders out there listening, this is the type of shit that happens to the best of the best, even if you're a killer, even if you're with the business, even if you do everything right, and especially if you give your loyalties to the wrong person or your loyalties to any person, period. You know, this is a 100% true story. This is how it happened, and that's just what it is, Tony.
Man, you know what, bro? That was a crazy freaking show right there, man. And I hope somebody out there, man, can, you know, understand that it doesn't matter what you've been through, how much you've done. At the end of the day, man, it is not worth it, man. You will completely just throw your whole entire life away for nothing.
Yeah. And there was a lot of things that I could have put in there, crazy shit that happened, but I just, you know, it would have ran too long. But this is just like the majority of it, man, for people to be able to grasp the severity of it, you know?
And for the people out there, man, of Prisoners Awakening, please subscribe to his channel, man. Like I said, man, go ahead and scroll down his upload list, man, and you will quickly realize, man, that this channel right here has so many gems and so many good stories, man, and it's all in a positive fashion, man. Again, one more time, of Prisoners Awakening. Please subscribe, man.
All right. Hey, thank you, Tony, for having me on, brother.
Hey, man, it was such a pleasure to have you on the show, bro. Thank you so much, man.